Those of you who have taken the Aging Mind course know that we often talk about isolation being fatal. Fatal to brain health and really fatal to your life expectancy. It shortens the lifetime when people don't socialize with others and aren't interacting with others. And Lawrence and I were talking off camera about how he looks at something that is not independence, it's not a declaration of independence, it's really a declaration of interdependence. Can you help me out on that?
Well, for me to maintain my independence, I have to depend on other people when I need it. It doesn't bother me at all to ask for help. I ask for help all the time. I have a huge wisteria. I posted on Nextdoor, and people came over and pruned it. I couldn't do that. There's things that just the other day, I gave away things on free on Craigslist, and I said, it would be useful to me if you could move some things for me. So they got something, I got something. And people always bring ideas. But for me to be independent, I have to be not dependent, but interdependent, work with people, and we help each other.
That's a concept that I think is the next wave of communities, understanding that in the word community, there's the word unity. And if you've got the common unity, which is the source of a community, you really can go miles with extending the wellness of the community. And you've been a model of being an advocate for transportation, for instance, of having adequate access. Mm-hmm. Can you explain how you've been working your interdependency, not just for people with physical challenges, but for people that are going to the airport or people that have baby buggies? How do you explain that?
Well, I just love the TriMet. This is the interdependence. The TriMet system gives me complete independence. I have a scooter. Now that's my car. I get on buses, all of this stuff. But I've noticed, like on the Max, here you've got the ramps, and it says the wheelchair placard. So people think it's only for wheelchairs. So I've contacted the woman, and she's got this. And so I put pictures. People who are not handicapped, they have strollers. They have the carry-on luggage.
Yeah, the big carry-on on the way to the airport.
To the airport. And I pointed this out to the people and say, oh, I didn't know that. Or one man said, oh, I didn't think that was legal. Okay. And so I want people to know, and I want TriMet to keep emphasizing the importance of making sure that people realize this is not a handicapped issue. People think universal design is about handicapped. No, it's about everyone at every station of their life.
Even if that station of life is temporary, like I'm going to the airport, but I need to use the same accessibility as if someone always had to use that.
Because I think it's beginning to open people's minds. And you're 17 years old, you have a ski accident. You're temporarily disabled, but it's just temporary. Sure. You're pregnant, you have a baby, and now you're out of the hospital and you're in a wheelchair temporarily. I remember seeing Jackie Kennedy come out of the hospital in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. She wasn't disabled, but it would have been a lot easier, because I see all these new houses going up. They have one concrete step, no rail. And it's all of these houses.
And in your world, one concrete step,
I couldn't do it.
It may as well be 10 concrete steps.
It is, because on this Build a Green Home tour that I was on, there were 5 properties on that had one, and one of them had 2 concrete steps. I was determined to get in those houses. I got in them on my hands and knees. And people say, well, so what? People just don't understand this.
Sure.
There's a PCC instructor I was referred to, and he said, well, I don't have any projects that need universal design. Every project needs universal design. So he was seeing it, envisioning it as a handicapped issue.
So you're trying to have a mindset change that everyone needs universal design.
I think it's the last inclusivity.
Okay.
We've got gay marriage, we've got a black president, we've got a woman who may become president, we've got Supreme Court justices, we've got women running CEOs of biggest companies, but we can't build houses that can have, it's mandated that you at least have a rail if there's one step. Because I'm not going to take the chance. Because my osteoporosis, I cannot fall down. But I think it's good design, but people, for whatever reason, and I'm letting it go.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I'm going to find clients who understand that my ideas are of value, not only to them, but for other people. And they say, Well, yes, my mother-in-law can't get in here. Well, so when it affects people directly, that's when change is going to happen.
And having people's awareness raised that universal design will help families and communities live a longer life better. That's one of the goals that you've said, that you really want to help make a difference to everyone.
I think so. And this communal living, intergenerational living, like in Jan's classes, all these kids are now living with their parents for a variety of reasons.
Sure.
But if you have a big house that now you own, but you really can't live in it, build an accessory dwelling unit, live in it, maybe rent it to your family member, then nobody's isolated. I mean, there's just a lot of new housing configurations that are really becoming more and more important and essential, and I think Portland is at the forefront of this, slowly but surely.
Okay.
I think it's a little slower than I prefer, but that's life.
You're impatient, and that's the beauty of having somebody who says, I want to make sure that I make a difference. And you look back at your life and the challenges you've had, and when you thought for a while you had a short-term life ahead of you, and each successive change in your mindset, it looks like you're looking farther and farther ahead. You're now, Lawrence, looking ahead generations of changing people's attitude toward those who need accessibility.
I hope so. In the way, though, I've discovered the way that I'm going to do it is not tell them. I'm discovering you can't. The only person you can change is myself. But I change other people indirectly by saying, like Alfred E. Newman, he doesn't worry, and people say, "Oh, that's cute," but I say, "Yes." But it's good advice. I take Alfred's advice. I don't worry. When you worry, you have stress. When you have stress, it affects this, which affects this. It affects everything. I say, oh, you're right. So I didn't tell them how to change. I said, this works for me.
Well, one of the quotes we use from Madame Calmette, the oldest person ever to be documented, 122 and a half years old when she passed away, she said in her late years that she doesn't worry about things she can't control. Now, that implies that if she can control it, do something about it, she'll be there. But if she can't control it, she doesn't let it affect her.
Yeah.
That's what I see with you, that
Well,
when
you
you
know,
see something that's a problem that you can help and control, you're the first one to get in there and fight a good fight.
No, I modified the serenity prayer.
Go ahead.
I now accept the things that I cannot change, the ability to change the things that I can, and experience to know the difference. And that has been a real big change in my life.
The experience to know the difference.
You think I'm impatient? I've become so much more patient, because that's one thing I like about getting older, is I have to slow down, literally and figuratively. It works better to slow down.
Well,
Because a lot of things that were important really aren't.
okay, and a lot of people who know you say you will not slow down, but what you're doing is making a difference with the direction you're going. So your first step that you take, you think about it now, Lawrence, and you're taking those steps in the right direction, and you're following through on a number of projects. I want the next segment to talk about the tour, that the focus that was on you with an article that was published in the newspaper. So we'll be back after another brain break.
Okay.